All right, and here we are.
All right.
So, first question is, where are you from?
I'm from Palestine, and in specific, I'm from the Gaza Strip.
Tell us a little bit more about your history there. Family's history in specific.
Family's history. Okay. Um, I don't know if many people know this, but more than half of the population of Gaza Strip are not Gazans. They're not originally from Gaza. So they were refugees. They were based outside of Gaza, and then throughout the war, they had to move to Gaza. They were pushed into Gaza. So both of my families, from my mom's side and from my dad's side, they're not originally from Gaza. My mom's side is they're from a place called Lid, or in English it's called Lud, which is the city that had um, the Palestinian airport, the only Palestinian airport. It was called Lid International Airport. Um, so my mom's originally from there. My mom's side of the family, they were originally from there. My dad's side of the family, they're from a tiny village on the north of Gaza, in a city now that belongs to Israel called Ashkelon or Asqalan Arabi. Um, it's a small village with a population of around 400 to 500 people. Originally, that's where we come from. My dad's side of the family, Al Haj, that's where we come from.
You were telling me about a place that isn't in existence anymore. What place is that?
That's the village that my dad's side of the family they came from, which is called Kokaba. It's a small village, like I said, 400, 500 people. Majority of the people there, they were actually family. It's like one big family living in a village. Most of which farmers, they really relied heavily on farming, um, selling their produce to the rest of Palestine. That's what my grandpa did. He was not a farmer per se, but he owned a farm and he had people working in the farm, and he would sell the produce to those businessmen. And that's what he did almost all of his life until the war broke out in 1948, and that's when he had to flee. So my dad's side of the family, my grandpa, along with his brothers and sisters, they moved to different cities in Palestine. So they moved from Kokaba first. I remember my dad told me the only thing he had when he left, it was my grandma, my two uncles. My dad was not born yet. My two uncles who passed away now, and a donkey, and his rifle. And this rifle, um, he kept it with him his entire life. It's the same rifle he used to defend his village when Israeli occupation attacked the village. They tried to defend, but they couldn't, so they had to flee. So they moved from a city to another city, and every city they landed in, they tried to make a home out of it, but this city ended up being attacked as well. So they had to flee again and again and again until they reached Egypt, actually. They stayed for a couple of years in Sinai. Um, Eventually, like in the beginning, everybody who left, they thought they're only going to leave for a week or two or a month or two, and eventually they'll come back. That's what majority of the people thought.
What happened in that war? Is it similar to what's happening now?
No, 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 it's not similar. It's similar in a way, but it's different because what happened was you were living peacefully on a piece of land that's yours and you own it since the beginning of time. And then one day you wake up and you see an army, a literal army, attacking your village, claiming the land as theirs, and saying you have no right to stay here anymore, and you need to go find somewhere else to live because this land is no longer for the Palestinians. This land belongs to the Jews or the Israelis. Um, so people in the beginning, especially my family, didn't believe this. They really didn't believe this. They thought it's just like a nightmare, or those people are crazy. So
Scare tactic.
yeah, exactly. It's a scare tactic. They maybe want to come in, yeah, steal a little bit, and then they'll leave eventually. No one thought they're gonna stay forever. Um, so that's why I'm telling you, people left without even taking their belongings. Like I remember my dad told me, um, his brothers, because my dad was not born yet. So his brothers told him like my grandpa didn't even take his money. Like he had cash on him. He just left it. He used to bury it outside in the garden. That was his stash basically, and everyone knows where he keeps his money. So he didn't even take it. Like he said, it's let's leave it there. It's safe. Eventually, I will come back and I'll resume my life. That's what they believed. So yeah, they had to move, like I said, from a city to another city to another city until they ended up in the Sinai Desert, and they stayed there for around 2 to 3 years with the tribe of people that my grandpa knew, because he used to sell produce like vegetables, meat, stuff like that to those businessmen. And those people from Egypt used to come to the village to buy from him. So he had a couple of contacts there. And when they showed up to Sinai, they welcomed them actually. They gave them a place to stay, and they stayed for a couple of years until um, there was a word spreading around that the UN is finally interfering, and they are providing homes in Gaza. And that's when they decided to go back to Palestine because it's still your country. Like you don't want to stay in Egypt. As they were very welcoming, but it's still not my country. So they moved back to Gaza Strip, and that's when we settled in Gaza. So through the UN, they were given a home to stay in a refugee camp, obviously. And from there, literally my grandpa and my grandma and my uncles, they had to start from scratch. I remember they were telling me my grandpa, he's a businessman, so he always had this business mentality. So he went to those wholesale dealers and started buying like traditional clothing for men and women, the thobes and stuff. And he would just go buy from the wholesale dealers and go to the market in the middle of the market and start selling to people. And he kept doing this until he gained a couple of bucks, and then he started expanding and expanding and expanding until he became I don't want to say a big businessman, but he became steady. He became stable, financially stable, stable enough to support his family. And then he started sending my uncles to go study outside. So he sent one of my uncle to Syria to study, and then that uncle graduated. He started making money, and throughout his money, he was able to fund his next brother, and so on and so on and so on until they reached my dad, because my dad is the youngest in the family. So yeah, pretty much that's the story.
And how about now? How are they now?
Um, my my uncles have passed away, all of them, except for my dad. So my dad is the only living male in his family. So they had to go through a lot. There's a lot of stories, a lot of suffering, which I can't bring up right now, but um, they didn't have an easy life. They had to work hard to gain money because they came from nothing. They literally came from nothing. I'm not ashamed to say it. My family is poor. My family, my dad's family, he was brought up poor, very poor. Um, but that's the life of Gazans. Majority of Gazans are poor people because, like I said, most of them were pushed into Gaza, or sorry, they sought refuge in Gaza because not a lot of them had the opportunity to take their belongings or their money, their gold, their jewelry, or when the war happened, when the war broke out, people just ran for their life. So whatever you had in the past in your village or in your city, it's no longer there. It's gone. My grandpa, for example, he had a humongous farm, acres of farms. Um, he actually had a compound. Before the concept of compounds existed, he actually had a family compound where he had his house, and then he built a house for his son, and then he was going to build another house for his next son. So they were doing very well. And then fast forward a couple of years, all that is destroyed. You are no longer wealthy, you are no longer capable of maintaining a decent life or supporting your family the way you used to. So you have to start from scratch. And that's what they did. That's my grandpa. But the next generation, my uncles and my aunts are still there. All of my aunts are still there with their husbands and their kids. My uncles, um, they had to go seek education somewhere else because during that time it was very hard for you to find an open university with a stable system because there was a lot of wars breaking out and it was just not stable. So my first uncle went to Syria. He studied there. Back then, Syria was top-notch education. It was the best place to go get an education. So he went to Syria, and then I remember he used to tell me, like 2 years before he graduated, he signed a work contract in Kuwait. Because back in the day, at that time when he was studying, that's when the GCC started expanding. That's when the GCC started flourishing. So they were getting a lot of people from Syria, Egypt, even Palestine to come and be teachers in the GCC. So he signed his first contract as a teacher 2 years before he graduated. So they had to wait for him 2 years, and then he graduated and went back to Kuwait, and that's where he got his first job. He was a teacher. He actually also the same uncle. After Kuwait, he came to Bahrain. He worked, I think, 2 years in Bahrain. In at that time, I remember he was telling me there was only one school in Bahrain, one school, and not a lot of people went to that school. Only like the royal family and wealthy businessmen and some people only could go to that school. So yeah, he taught in that school for 2 years. Went back to Kuwait, UAE, couple of years in UAE, and that's when we lived together because I was born in UAE. Then he moved back to Syria and then Egypt and then Turkey until he passed away, which is a typical life of a Palestinian. You just keep moving around, looking for your next home, although you'll never find a home. But you just basically go with the flow. Go wherever life takes you, whatever is best for you. And sometimes it's not even your decision. You're forced out. You have to move, not because you want to, but it's because you have to.
And your aunts now in Gaza,
Mhm.
you said, how are they doing now?
Trying to survive. Everyone in Gaza right now, just like anyone else in Gaza, trying their best to survive, but there's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you can hide.
Have you been in touch with them?
Yeah, whenever we have the chance to. But communication is not easy there, and the internet is not stable. So whenever we have the chance, we check up on them. That's the thing. It's not just my aunts. I have a million cousins there. We have a big family, a very big family. So we try to stay in touch with everyone we can, but it's not easy.
Is everyone safe?
I don't think this status of safe exists right now in Gaza. No one's safe in Gaza. No matter where you stay, even if you're staying in a refugee camp, in a hospital, you're still not safe. So people just hope that they're safe, hope that they're not next in line. But at the same time, and trust me, like I've been in touch with them, they're not scared. For some reason, they're not scared. If they die with dignity, That's what they say. If we die with dignity. If we die as murderers. And that's the best death. So why should we run away from something that's glorious? And that's what they believe in.
How have you guys been taking it, as a family that's away and really can't do much to help? How has that affected your day to day? Just
The effect is humongous. Since the 7th of October, me, my wife, my family, my dad, my mother, we've been anxious. Really, really, really anxious. You're worried about the safety of your loved ones. You're worried about the safety of your people. You don't know what's happening right now. You get the news late. Keep in mind, there's a delay in the news. So whenever something happens, we get the news late. So you're always worried that something might happen and you don't know. You don't know what's happening right now. Or people are not telling you, for many reasons, because they don't want you to worry, or they have no means to reach you. But for me personally, which is a statement I keep repeating at work, I always tell my colleagues, I am physically here with you guys, but mentally, emotionally, I'm in Palestine. It really affected my mentality, my emotions, my productivity. I'm just scattered. My mind is scattered. You can't keep your focus. I'm never focused because I'm only focused when I forget. But then something reminds you, and you're just like, let me open my phone and check the news. Let me, call someone. Let me try to see what's happening in the world right now. So, yeah, it took a big toll on us, especially with those people who have family there. You're always extra worried because you have people that you're in touch with, people you're connected with, and you're scared for their lives.
And do you think that it's about a religion, or is it about what is it about?
It's definitely not about religion. The other side is trying to make it look that way. It's about Jews versus Muslims, but it's definitely not about religion. And the proof is us as Palestinians. There's Palestinian Arabs, Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians, and Palestinian Jews. And the enemy, the occupation, Israel, they're attacking all of them. It doesn't matter who you are. They will attack you as long as you're Arab, basically. As long as you claim to have origins on this land, they don't want you there. So it's definitely not about religion, because they've attacked mosques, they've attacked churches, and even the Jews themselves who stand up against Israel, they're being demolished. So it's definitely not about religion. And everyone knows this, I feel like. Especially now, especially this year, I think with this war that's happening, people are more woke now. People know to some extent what's happening and what are the details. So I think people who label it as Muslims versus Jews, this statement no longer exists. It's not valid anymore. And everyone knows this now.
And how do you think we can help?
There's many ways to help, depending on your capabilities, depending on your reachability. So the least thing you can do is pray for them. The least thing, no matter what your religion is, the least thing you can do is pray for those people. If you want to do more, talk about it, post about it, educate people. For those who are ignorant, talk to them, show them the truth. I'm not asking anyone to fight. I'm not asking anyone to debate. I'm not asking anyone to start something that's negative. I'm just saying, just educate people who want to be educated. Especially now with social media. Like, social media is a very strong weapon at the moment. And this is the war that we're winning, the media war. So this is how you can help. Talk about it, post about it, share, pray for them, donate if you can, donations.
Is it getting through though? Is the money getting through?
Eventually it will. Now it's going through, but it's going through at a very minimal pace. But it will go through eventually. It will go through eventually. There is a lot of, like we know at the border, there's a lot of trucks ready to be sent to Gaza. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, you can donate and it will reach eventually. Eventually it will.
As someone who is from there and has family there and knows, what do you think we don't see?
Okay. I feel like this is a big question because I need to think it through.
Yeah.
But the simplest thing that I can say is, from my conversations with my family and my extended family, I think I came to a conclusion that we are more terrified and scared about this whole thing more than the people who are living there. I don't know what could be the reason. I'm still trying to figure it out. But every time I talk to someone, they seem to have more confidence than me. So I'm the one who's scared and freaking out and hoping that my family is untouched and they won't die. But for them, every time I talk to someone, one of them, it's usually like, if I die, I die. I die as a murder, and that's my mission in life. Also, another thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention, there's a lot of talks happening now about the Gazans, especially about like if they open up the borders, they'll leave their land. I can guarantee you, and I know this with my own heart, I can guarantee you, those people living in Gaza, they're not leaving. They're not going to go anywhere. They're purposely staying. I personally know people who are very wealthy, and I had conversations with them that, like, uncle, you're very wealthy, like you can afford to go live anywhere you want. Why are you still living in Gaza? And his answer was, if I leave and then I let my son leave and my family leave, who's going to be left in this land? Who's going to claim this land? If everyone who got a couple of bucks and left the country, it's no longer going to exist. And then the occupation will come and claim it as theirs. So what I'm trying to say is, those people are there purposely. Those people are there willingly, and they're there to stay. They're not going anywhere. I'm not saying people won't leave. Some people might leave, but majority of the people, they know what's happening and they know the reason why they're there. It's like they're born with a mission. That's how they see it. We are born in this holy land, and our mission is to stay put and fight this occupation with any means possible. Staying there staying in your house and not going anywhere, not seeking refuge somewhere else, is a way of resistance for them. So that's just something I want to bring to the light.
Do you think it would be easier if they went somewhere, if they kind of seeked, shelter elsewhere,
Easier
refuge
for whom?
elsewhere?
That's the thing. Easier for whom? Easier for me because my heart is breaking and I want my family to be safe. Yes, it will be easier for me. But it's not my decision. It's their decision. And if they are the ones who are going to take that decision, it's always going to be no. They're not going to take that decision. Like I said, it's their life's mission. They are born with this mission and they're going to die with this mission. Yes, their life might be safer if they go somewhere else, but they're not looking for safety outside of their country. Our people are not looking for safety outside of Palestine. We will look for safety within our borders. Because this is our country. If we left it, it will no longer exist.
Could it be seen as extreme?
No.
Why not? Do you think someone hearing this saying that I traveled out of a country that was safer, say for example, Mexico or or Syria or Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
So I traveled, I left, and I sought a better life. Now,
Okay.
this is war, and there are bombs, and there are people dying. What do you think is keeping them there?
Okay. The example that you used,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge difference between those people that you're talking about and the people of Palestine. And the difference is someone who's living in Mexico, like you said, or whatever country. If he leaves, if he or she left, there is no one else going to come and take his spot. His spot is always going to be there. His country is not going anywhere. For the people of Palestine, if you leave, if everyone ends up leaving, the Israeli occupation is going to eat up your land more and more and more and more until it no longer exists. So that's the risk of leaving. That's why I'm saying majority of the people believe in the right to return. And they know, we all know, one day we will return. So majority of the people will remain solid on this land and they will not move until the day comes and they go back to all those cities and villages that they came from and claim their land back. So yeah, two different comparisons. One where
That's good. Yeah, you're right.
one where if you move, someone else is going to take your spot, and the other you're just seeking a better opportunity or a better life.
And
But
if you do go back, it's there for you.
exactly, if you do go back, it's there for you. And those and Palestinians in general, they do try to look for a better life, but a better life in their country. And if there's a better life outside of their country, a lot of people will make that decision, but sometimes it's temporary. A lot of people go temporarily somewhere else for education purposes or starting a business or whatnot, and they come back. For example, in every Palestinian house, you will find a symbolic thing that reminds them about going back to their land. Palestinians keep their house keys. The houses that they were kicked out of, we keep it. I'm gonna talk about my own family. My grandfather's key is still there. His title deed for his house, we still have it. It's from the Ottomans. We have a title deed that's issued by the Ottomans, and we still have it.
Is the land there? Is the house there? I mean,
I don't think it's there, no, because everything was leveled to the ground, and there's an Israeli village or city that exists there now. Obviously, we were not gonna know because we're not allowed to go back and we're not allowed to see. But yeah, I don't believe it. exist. They tried to wipe out the history of the entire place. They changed the name, they changed the look, they changed everything out of it. So even if people go back there, it's not gonna be the same. They're not gonna remember it the same way they do. But yeah, we still keep our belongings and our symbolics ready.
Great. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Last question, final question. How would you like to end this? What would you like to tell the people hearing this right, and watching this?
Um, okay. It relates me back to the question where you asked me how can we help.
Hmm.
So the steps that I've given you of how people can help, this is what I would say to the people. Number one is stay active. Stay active. Don't forget about the people. I know it's been almost a month now, and you can already tell that the engagement is going significantly down, but people are getting tired of what they're seeing, and I understand that. It's okay. But even if you don't want to look, just talk about it, post about it, speak up, um, try to donate, try to educate people, and the least thing you can do is pray for the people there because it makes a difference. A lot of people think these things do not help, but it does make a difference. It does make a difference. It puts pressure on the other side. So I would ask people to remain constant, remain solid, and people in Gaza are suffering, which is a reality, but they are much stronger than we think. Much stronger than we think. So we're gonna have to pay. We're gonna have to pray for them as much as we can, and hopefully, if this war ends, we're gonna be the first people to help rebuild, because there's a lot of destruction that's happening right now, and I can't wait to be part of the rebuild process. That's what I'm waiting for.
Would you go back?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, I will go back. Definitely. I will go back to Gaza, and I will go back to where my grandparents came from. It's cities that we only heard about. Imagine where you come from is somewhere that you just hear about it.
Like a fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale, exactly. It's like a fairy tale. So the first thing I would do is I want to go visit the city where my mom was, my actually not my mom, my grandma, my grandpa. That's where they were brought up. That's where my ancestors came from. So I would definitely go back. I would definitely go back, not just to those cities. I want to go back to the entire country. Palestine is such a beautiful country. Like, not a lot of people know this, but it's such a beautiful country. And the sad part is, Israel took all the beautiful places and they gave the Palestinians the desert. Gaza Strip is a desert, basically. Palestine have amazing beaches, amazing greenery, valleys, waterfalls, amazing. And whenever you see these things, it's just, it breaks your heart because this is your country. You should be enjoying this, not someone who came 75 years ago and stole it out of your hands. So I should be the one who's enjoying these scenes. And the thing is, they don't allow it. They don't allow you to share. So, like, even if you want to go, you can't. So it's pure monopoly. That's how I see it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.